Well, they're definitely going after it hard, so that's a good sign. All right, good morning. It is a sunny but cold morning here on Boisterous Cock Farmstead. And I wanted to take a minute. I'm in the middle of doing my morning chores, so I haven't let the chickens out. Their food is still draining a little bit. But I wanted to show something that I'm trying out. Again, this is trying out for my pigs that have been receiving pellets as part of their diet, and this is just basically an effort to reduce the feed cost but still not reduce the performance. So what I buy, it's a Purina pellet sow and pig feed. It's like 15%, and they're like just under $14 a bag, 50-pound bag. And I'm going through like 2 or 3 of those a week right now with all the pigs that I've got being fed those pellets. And so I'm trying to develop an alternative. And what I did was a couple days ago, I did just a modification of the chicken feed. And instead of soaking the soy meal and the alfalfa pellets separate on a day-to-day basis, I actually added that into the barley and soaked it all together. So I did have to add a little bit more water yesterday to this batch. So this one's on day 2. It'll get fed on day 3. And then these 2 I just started up today. So with the water level that I eventually brought it up to, I just went ahead and added those in now and just gave it a good stir so that hopefully it'll be more uniform than this one was when it gets fed. Here's at least the main benefit outside of cost savings is I already have all these components on hand, so it's just a matter of going through a larger volume of that particular ingredient. In this case, it's 3 ingredients. It's whole barley, it's ground soybean meal, and it's 14% alfalfa pellet. And that's just to throw a little bit of green. They already get alfalfa. Throw a little bit of green in there. Also helps me see how well it's mixed, I think. But that may not be necessary. I may take that out since they're already getting hay. But it'll reduce the cost that I'm paying for the pellets, but it also, that's a different store that I get the pellets from, because the mill that I get my whole barley from and the other 2 items, they don't actually pelletize their own feed, so they just sell a loose feed, which is basically what I'm trying to recreate here. I may not have all the components that they have, and I may need to add something down the road depending on how I see the pigs are doing. But this is going to be phase 1, attempt 1, and we'll see how well the pigs do on this. If they do great, then I'll just keep doing it, and if it looks like they need to have a little bit more added in, then depending on what they're doing, how they're acting and everything like that, whether I need to raise or lower the soybean amount, like I said, remove the alfalfa, whatever it is. And welcome to another cold yet sunny day on Boisterous Cock Farmstead. I wanted to finish what I started yesterday about the new pig feed that I'm trying out. And basically what we've got here is just kind of a soupy slop, really, which is pretty ideal. because I can scoop this out, I could just pour this out. So what I'm going to do is I've put a feed pan down in the center pin there, and I'll pour that out into the pan. And then for this other group over here, I'm just going to pick a clean spot out in the field and dump this out there so that they're not basically eating their own feces. I've got the camera set up on a tripod, so I'll try to set up my shot before I go in there, and hopefully it records well. So when we're done feeding the pigs here, I'll break out the scale and we'll figure out what the different weights are of this batch that I did, the first 3 batches here, and see if I want to actually change that up at all going forward. Well, they're definitely going after it hard, so that's a good sign. So, let me pick you guys up here. I'll take you out with me to feed these girls here. This is gonna be fun. So you can see it's a pretty good amount of grain. Granted, this is soaked, and so it's taken on some water, so the volume has increased somewhat. But because of doing the soak, the digestibility of the grain itself has actually gone up as well. So it should increase all aspects of the feed, and because of the water, and I'll show you the different grain amounts that I put in here. But with using these Tractor Supply buckets, I came up to about the top of this little medallion here, the food grade safety or food grade heavy duty BPA free logo that's on these Tractor Supply buckets. And that seemed like it left enough, it absorbed enough moisture during the soak period, and allowed enough room for me to stir it, and it was also wet enough that I could pour it out. And not have a bunch clumping in the bucket and everything like that. Now, the very top of it was wetter, so I gave them a little bit more volume because of that. So that may be something that I either drill some holes in a scoop or something so I can get get some even scoops out or whatever, but or may adjust the moisture just a little bit, drop it down just a little bit. But they definitely are loving it. So the next step is, as I'm loading up this next bucket here, we'll get some weights, and like I said, I'll do a quick cost analysis and tell you how much that costs for that particular feeding there. And basically my plan is going to be, usually what I was doing was I was giving a certain amount of pellets in the morning, a certain amount of pellets in the evening, and then I would give hay additionally. I think what I'm going to do with this feeding schedule here is, I think I'm going to go with the grain in the morning, and I'll do hay only in the evening. What that'll do is it'll allow me to empty my bucket all at once, and I won't have to worry about keeping more buckets than just the individual days. And I think I'm actually going to start 2 more buckets today soaking, and so I'll have a longer fermentation process. So I'll have 4 buckets total in rotation. But let me go grab the scale, and we'll weigh this out, and we'll see roughly what we're working with here. So first thing we need to do is we'll take our first vessel, which is this scoop, and we'll zero out the scale. I need 2 of these scoops. So we're looking 3.07 pounds. So we'll just call it 3 pounds per scoop. Go grab my next vessel. Okay, so we'll tare this one. The first item here is alfalfa pellets, 1.06, so roughly 1 pound of the alfalfa pellets. And here's first scoop of soybean meal. So this is 1.15 pounds. And this is 0.56 pounds. So 1.7 pounds of soybean meal. Now again, this isn't necessarily what I'll stick with. This is just to recreate what I already have in the buckets. And so we're looking at a little under 6 pounds of feed, dry, plus the water that it takes on. Okay. So we've got our feed bucket full of water. We'll just take a spoon here. Give it a mix all the way down to the bottom. Incorporate the alfalfa pellets and the soybean meal throughout. And then we'll let that soak for a few days. So here's one of the buckets that we mixed yesterday So after doing some calculations and finding some recipes that other people do their own pig feed, it just so happens it's a very similar product to what I'm doing for my chickens. And there's a reason why I'm doing the same thing for my chickens. Based on seeing those weights and knowing that the other feed mixes that I've seen use corn instead of barley, which is actually a lower protein amount, and that I didn't use quite the same ratio as I saw in there. Basically theirs was a 4-to-1 grain to soybean meal to get roughly a 16%. If I wanted to do a 20%, it would be closer to 2-to-1. Throwing in the alfalfa throws that off a little bit. The alfalfa is 14%. So I'd say that's relatively close to what I'm trying to get to anyway. But I think to get it really close to a 16%, I would need to use 2 full scoops of the soybean meal, which is what I use for my chickens. So they are 2 big scoops of feed, which is 3 pounds each, so 6 pounds. The 1 pound of the alfalfa pellets, and then they are roughly 2 to 2.25 pounds of soybean meal, plus the oyster shell is what they get. So we'll see. I'll probably make that adjustment. I'll do some math here and I'll place it up on the screen somewhere magically throughout this post here, and let you know how much that batch that we just mixed is for my actual cost. The other thing that I wanted to actually get is, and this was something I picked up from watching this other video, is trace mineral salt. Adding a little bit of that to each little batch for the pigs, and that'll help them fight off dehydration, things like that. Give them their electrolytes and all their base minerals and things like that. That now that I'm not using a commercial feed that has that stuff included, I need to make sure that I'm adding that to this prolonged diet if this is what I'm going to be feeding them. So I think that's going to do it for us today. If you have any comments, please leave them down in the comments section. Any questions, anything like that. If you like what we're doing, please let us know. It's always great to hear feedback. And as always, please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate seeing the channel grow. We're still very small at this point, but hopefully we can start to gain viewership. Also, please share this video with anybody that you think might find it interesting, or just want to help spread the channel for us. That's greatly appreciated as well. I think we're gonna switch over. I'm gonna get off the camera here and go feed the chickens and the rest of the pigs and everything like that, and gonna call it for now. So as always, thanks for joining us, and God bless.